Bill kept showing up. When my husband was at work, everyone said I was paranoid until I recorded him confessing his love and trying to kiss me while I held my baby. So I've been married to Terry for about 3 years now, and we've got a sweet little 6-month-old girl named Maria. Terry's younger brother, Ryan, who's 26, has been pretty much a fixture at our place for the last 2 months. But here's the catch. He only drops by when Terry's at work. Terry leaves super early for his construction job at 6 a.m. and doesn't get back until around 5:30 p.m. and, like clockwork, that's when Ryan decides it's hangout time. Ryan's routine starts with a text at 7 a.m., asking if I need help around the house or if I want some company while Terry's away. At first, I thought it was really nice of him to look out for his brother's wife, but lately, I'm starting to get some weird vibes. Ryan always comes over with this fancy coffee, plops himself on our couch, and chats for hours about his boring insurance job. He keeps saying how he wishes he had what Terry and I have, and how lucky Terry is to have me. I mean, last week he even brought me flowers because I looked tired, and thought they'd cheer me up. I told Terry about it, but he just brushed it off with a laugh, saying, "Ryan's always been thoughtful." The thing is, Ryan's behavior is night and day depending on who's home. When Terry's around, Ryan's pretty quiet and just hangs out with him, either watching TV or tinkering with Terry's truck. But the minute it's just me and Maria, he's suddenly super chatty and super helpful. He'll hover while I'm cooking, stand right behind me, and even help with the laundry, where our hands always end up touching. A couple of weeks ago, Maria was having a meltdown, and I was at my wit's end. Ryan offered to hold her while I took a shower, and I was so beat that I let him. But the whole time, I was uneasy. When I came out, he was singing to her, told me I looked beautiful with wet hair, and made another comment about how Terry's the luckiest guy alive. I felt so weird. I just took Maria back and made up an excuse about needing to feed her. Yesterday took the cake. Ryan showed up at 8 a.m. with pastries and said he took the day off just to help out. I told him I didn't need any help, but he insisted on sticking around. He followed me from room to room and made comments like how great I was with Maria and how motherhood suited me. It was super creepy. Then he asked for a picture of me and Maria, saying we looked peaceful and it would be a nice surprise for Terry. I said no, but he kept pushing until I had to raise my voice. That finally got him to back off, and he left around noon, but not before telling me he was just trying to be a good brother and didn't get why I was being so cold. When Terry came home, I tried explaining, but he just wrote it off as Ryan being awkward and lonely since his breakup 6 months ago. He said I should be thankful Ryan cares so much about us, and that other wives would love such a supportive brother-in-law. I felt like I was losing my mind because Terry just wasn't getting the point. This morning, Ryan texted again about coming over, and I finally snapped. I told him to stop visiting when Terry's not home because it makes me uncomfortable. He called me, yelling about how I was being paranoid and hormonal and how I'm ruining his bond with Terry. 20 minutes later, Terry called from work saying I upset Ryan and that I need to apologize. Apparently, Ryan even called their mom, crying about how mean I've been, and now she wants to know what's up. Everyone seems to think I'm the bad guy, and I just don't know what to do. Am I overreacting by telling Ryan not to come over when Terry isn't home? Or is it fair to feel uneasy about this whole situation? So you know how I've been feeling uneasy about this whole situation at work? I was trying to explain this to Terry, but he just kept cutting me off, saying there's nothing wrong and that I'm overthinking normal stuff. Carrie chimed in saying Ryan's just socially awkward and doesn't really know how to talk to women properly. But he's harmless, and I should just give him a break because, you know, family. She even told me Ryan's ex dumped him for being too needy, and now he's all sad and lonely, just looking for a place to fit in. She said I'm making him feel like an outsider in his own brother's house. Then Terry really got under my skin by suggesting that maybe I'm just paranoid because I'm exhausted from taking care of Maria, and he hinted I should talk to a doctor about postpartum anxiety. I told him straight up I'm not paranoid or anxious, and that my feelings about Ryan are totally legit. But he just shook his head, acting like I'm being irrational. The next day, Terry's mom, Susan, calls me, and she's not happy. She starts lecturing me about how Ryan's always been sensitive and is having a tough time, so I should be more understanding instead of pushing him away. She said Ryan came to her house in tears, confused about why I'm so mad at him. She even demanded I apologize to him to patch things up. Susan said maybe I don't get the whole family dynamic because my folks live so far away and I'm an only child, but that doesn't give me the right to hurt Ryan's feelings. Then she hit me with, "If you keep this up, you're going to ruin Terry's relationship with his brother. And that's unforgivable, because family's everything." I tried explaining to Susan that I'm not trying to hurt anyone, but Ryan's behavior just bothers me, and I have every right to set boundaries at home. She wasn't hearing it, though. She just said I was being dramatic, and that I should be ashamed of thinking poorly of Ryan, who's just trying to be nice. Carrie's dad gave me a call too, and he was a bit calmer than Susan, but basically said the same thing, that I should cut Ryan some slack and not jump to conclusions about him. Terry's dad mentioned that Ryan's the baby of the family and might not realize he's coming off wrong. He suggested I talk to Ryan directly instead of just shutting him out. The worst part is that Terry's now siding with his family, acting like I'm causing drama by not apologizing to Ryan. He said his family thinks I'm stuck up, ungrateful, and trying to control who he can see. Terry told me that if I don't sort this mess out with Ryan, he'll just invite him over whenever he wants, because it's his house too, and Ryan's his brother. He said I'm overreacting and that this drama is all in my head. To make matters worse, Ryan's been texting every day, asking when he can visit again, saying he misses spending time with Maria and wants everything to be normal. He keeps apologizing if he made me uncomfortable, but claims he doesn't know what he did wrong and hopes we can make things right because family means a lot to him. I feel so alone here. It's like everyone thinks I'm the one who's wrong, and no one's actually listening to how Ryan's behavior makes me feel. Terry barely talks to me now, except to say I need to apologize, and his family treats me like I'm some kind of monster for not wanting Ryan around when I'm alone with the baby. I know I'm not making this up, and my instincts are screaming that something's off about Ryan, but how do I get anyone to believe me when they all think I'm just paranoid and mean for no reason? Then something really bad happened yesterday, and I'm freaked out about what'll happen when I tell Terry. I caved to the pressure from him and his family, and finally let Ryan come over again. Terry threatened that if I didn't make peace with his brother, he'd invite Ryan over anyway, and I didn't want to keep arguing when everyone's against me. Terry insisted Ryan promised to be more careful this time and deserved another chance to show he can be a good brother-in-law. So, Terry left for work at 6:30 like usual, and around 8:30 Ryan texted, asking to come over and apologize in person. I really didn't want him to come, but knowing Terry would be mad if I refused again, I said fine, but only for an hour. Ryan showed up at 9 o'clock with his typical coffee and muffins. At first, he seemed more normal, keeping his distance, just chatting about the weather and asking how Maria was sleeping. I thought maybe everyone was right, and Ryan was just awkward before. But he got it now, and things would improve. Maria was napping, and I was folding laundry while Ryan sat across from me, talking about how he's thinking of switching jobs because insurance is dull. He seemed calmer than usual, not making weird remarks about me, Terry, or our marriage, so I started to relax, thinking maybe I'd misjudged him. But then Maria woke up and started crying. I went to get her, and when I came back, Ryan's whole demeanor changed. He got that unsettling look in his eyes again and started going on about how beautiful Maria is and how lucky Terry is to have such a perfect family. He said he wished he could have what we have, and my anxiety was back full force. I was standing by the window trying to calm Maria down when Ryan got up and came over to us. So Ryan came over and said he wanted to help calm Maria down. I told him I had it under control, but he still moved closer, reaching out to touch Maria's cheek. When his hand brushed against mine, he didn't pull away, just lingered a bit too close. Then he started saying how good I smell, and how Terry doesn't know how lucky he is, and that I deserve someone who notices the small things and appreciates me. I told Ryan to back up and give me space, but he kept on talking about how he's always thought I'm amazing and wishes things were different. When I tried to move away, Ryan gently grabbed my arm and said he needed to tell me something important, something he'd been holding back for months. He admitted he knows it's wrong but can't help how he feels about me, saying he's always wished he was the one coming home to Maria and me instead of Terry. I insisted he leave because what he was saying was out of line, but Ryan argued that I must feel something too, pointing out that I'm not happy in my marriage because Terry doesn't pay attention. I was holding Maria tighter, trying to reach the front door, but Ryan blocked my way and insisted I hear him out. He went on about how he's loved me since Terry first brought me home, and wondered what would have happened if he'd met me first. He confessed he thinks about me all the time, whether at work or when he's lying in bed. Realizing how emotional and intense Ryan was getting, I knew I needed to record everything, so I discreetly got my phone and started recording. Ryan kept saying we could be happy together if I just gave him a chance. He said Terry doesn't appreciate me, and that he'd treat me like a queen and be a better dad to Maria. Then he dropped a bombshell. He'd been coming over when Terry was at work to see if maybe I felt the same way. Bringing me coffee, flowers, and helping around the house were all his ways of showing he cared about me. Ryan thought I was warming up to him and maybe seeing him as more than just Terry's brother. I told Ryan again to leave or I'd call the police or Terry, but he kept saying he wasn't done talking and needed me to understand his feelings. I was terrified, pinned against the wall with Maria, when Ryan said he's dreamt of kissing me. In a moment of desperation, he tried to kiss me. I pushed him away and threatened to call the cops if he didn't leave. Ryan finally backed off, apologized profusely, and admitted he got caught up in his feelings. He begged me not to tell Terry, because it would ruin everything between them and cause his family to hate him. After he left, I locked up the house and broke down in Maria's nursery, shaken and scared about what had just happened. The recording on my phone captured everything, proving I wasn't imagining things, but I was so nervous about showing it to Terry, fearing he might blame me or think I encouraged Ryan. I held off telling Terry because he's been super busy with work, and I didn't know how to drop this bombshell on him. I was worried about how this would affect his relationship with his family, and whether they'd think I was lying. But finally, on a Saturday when Terry was free and Maria was napping, I showed him the recording. Seeing his face, he realized something serious was wrong. I reminded him how uncomfortable Ryan had been making me and how his family kept brushing it off. Now, with the proof in front of him, Terry finally believed me and saw Ryan for what he truly is. So, here's the deal. Terry was being all paranoid and unreasonable, trying to cut me off mid-conversation, saying we didn't need to dig up old stuff again. But I insisted he hear me out entirely before reacting. Then I dropped the bomb that Ryan had stopped by on Thursday, and something happened that totally confirmed my suspicions about his creepy feelings toward me. Terry's face went all serious, and he asked what Ryan had done. I pulled out my phone and said, "Dude, I recorded everything because I knew you wouldn't just take my word for it." I played the recording, starting with Ryan, blabbing about how he's always loved me, wished he'd met me first, and constantly thinks about me. At this point, Terry's face turned ghostly, and his hands were shaking. Then came the part where Ryan admitted he'd been coming over to see if I felt the same way, and Terry just stood up and started pacing around the kitchen, looking more furious by the second. The worst was when Ryan's voice on the recording said he'd been dreaming about kissing me, and I was like, back off! He was begging for just one kiss. Terry lost it and punched the wall, making a massive hole, screaming he'd kill his brother for making a move on me. He was furious, saying he couldn't believe Ryan would pull something like this, feeling sick that he'd defended Ryan all this time while Ryan was planning something so vile in our home. He apologized for not listening to me and admitted he should have trusted my instincts instead of making me feel crazy. Then Terry called Ryan right in front of me. The second Ryan picked up, Terry unloaded on him, screaming about what a pervert he was and that he never wanted to see him again. Ryan tried to talk over him with excuses, but Terry wasn't having it. He told Ryan he was dead to him and threatened him to stay away from me and Maria or else. He said he'd heard the recording and that Ryan couldn't talk his way out of it, calling him sick for trying to assault me while I was holding our baby. Ryan sounded shocked about the recording, but Terry told him he'd wrecked their relationship permanently. He hung up and chucked his phone across the room. Once he cooled down a bit, he hugged me, apologizing repeatedly for not believing me and for leaving me to deal with Ryan's harassment alone. Terry felt terrible that our home had become a place of fear and said he should have protected me instead of defending Ryan. We talked about whether Ryan had ever touched me or made inappropriate comments without proof, and I told him about all the times Ryan stood too close or made comments about how lucky Terry was. He'd always find reasons to touch my hand or stand behind me in the kitchen. Terry was angry all over again, in disbelief that he'd missed all the signs. Then his mom, Susan, called. Terry immediately started telling her what Ryan did and that they were done with him. I could hear Susan getting upset, trying to defend Ryan, saying it must be a misunderstanding. But Terry told her he had proof, and Ryan had admitted everything. Susan started crying, pleading not to cut Ryan off, suggesting they help him instead. Terry firmly told her Ryan made his choice when he tried to assault me, and that protecting me and Maria was his top priority now. He told Susan that if he or anyone else tried to defend Ryan, they'd be cut off too. There was no way he'd let anyone make me feel unsafe again. Susan kept arguing, but Terry hung up and turned off his phone. Over the weekend, Terry's dad and sister Emily tried to reach out too, but he ignored them. Terry said he didn't want to hear from them unless they were going to apologize for not supporting me. Terry was embarrassed by how his family had treated me, making me feel like I was wrong to trust my instincts. He's determined to make sure they know exactly what Ryan did, so they can't brush it off as nothing serious. Yesterday, he changed all our locks and installed a security camera by the front door, just in case Ryan tries to show up when Terry isn't home. He even talked to our neighbor, asking her to call the cops if she sees Ryan near our place. Terry's not taking any chances with our safety. He says Ryan lost the right to be part of our family the moment he tried to assault me. I'm really relieved Terry finally knows the truth and is putting me and Maria first instead of trying to keep peace with his family. He keeps apologizing for not listening sooner, but I told him what matters is that he believes me now and is protecting us. We haven't heard from Ryan since the confrontation, but Terry's ready to call the police and file for a restraining order if Ryan tries anything. I feel like a massive weight's been lifted off my shoulders now that Terry knows what really happened. I don't have to pretend Ryan's behavior was normal or that I was overreacting. I'm still processing everything and might talk to someone about it beyond Reddit, you know.